Hello and welcome to the program, everyone. My name is Nnamdi Odipo, and this is the Ballot. Thanks for joining us on the Ballot. We will, in the coming days and weeks leading up to Election Day, Saturday, February 25, take you on a day-to-day journey of activities revolving around the 2023 general elections, as well as what the political parties and their candidates are saying. But first, the highlights.
Beloved citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Passion, conviction, and grit all collide on streets of Twitter as political parties canvass sympathizers.
It's not for them to come and insult themselves.
They should understand that running an election is equivalent to what? A job application.
What do the people want to hear this time around? They say they have very little patience for frivolities.
To rebuild Nigeria from May 29, 2023.
When I talk about giving others, doesn't mean giving them money. It's creating jobs.
We review some public policy statements by contending parties and gauge feasibility. I'll now begin with some of what we see trending on the social media, especially on the streets of Twitter, which is clearly buzzing with events around the general elections and what some of the candidates are doing. Well, let's see. Yes, the Labour Party and its band of obedience clearly appear to be loud on the streets of Twitter. And if it is passion you want, it is passion you get from supporters of the Obidati ticket. The PDP presidential candidate Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is also no stranger on social media as well. He's actively engaged and he's seen tweeting literally every day and quite recently dancing as well. Twitter was also one of the platforms that he announced his election manifesto.
On these covenants, I have thrown my heart into the ring to rebuild Nigeria from May 29, 2023. Trust me and my formidable team in the PDP.
Another group giving the presidential contenders a run for their money are the Bati Fires. Clearly one of the leading contenders in the 2023 election, supporters of the APC presidential candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu, BAT for short, are quite slick with their social media campaign. I'm sure other candidates are equally engaged. We will be monitoring the streets, be it the real streets or the streets of Twitter, for more on their activities. And of course, what is resonating with the people, more importantly, what do eligible voters want to hear from the candidates as they talk about their promises or their campaign, blueprints this electioneering season. Let's do a quick rundown of what we gleaned from some voters here in Abuja.
It's for them to come and tell us what they have for Nigerians.
And to, discuss objectively, how they intend, to deal with those issues.
I can say next week I will buy Mercedes Benz 450L for everybody resident in Abuja. That's what the people are doing. Anybody can make that statement. So if they are sincere, they should tell us how they want to buy the Mercedes. Where is the money? Do you have the money in the bank? How did you get the money?
We need a new Nigeria, how they can improve what the youth solve their problems. In fact,
issue of insecurity, fear of kidnapping, and the rest of them, they should try and, as much as possible also to work on that.
I want to educate the politicians. They should understand that running an election is equivalent to what? A job application.
What I just have to say is that they should just try and stop fighting, and they just focus on PDP should focus on PDP and APC should focus on APC, and they should try and make Nigeria a better place.
Of course, there are a lot more than two parties participating in the coming elections, and I'm sure the same message or messages applied to all of them. Joining me to discuss some of the issues that we have raised during the program today is Professor Imumolen, presidential candidate of the Accord Party. Welcome to the Ballot.
Thank you for having me on the show.
I'm not sure if you saw the first report we ran on social media campaigns, but I would like your take on the subject matter, seeing that most of the candidates are setting their sights on, the rather huge population out there. I mean, since most of them are on the social media. Some would say you have been somewhat quiet on that front. In fact, let me read you a response to a question you were asked by one of the national dailies on your approach, rather quiet approach to the campaigns. And I would like to quote from the interview you granted then in early September, just shortly after you won your party's presidential primaries. And I quote, you said, "If it was due to the level of noise one could make on social media, I would probably not have won the Accord Party primaries. I know of candidates who made so much noise in the media but failed to get nominated for the positions they sought because they failed the acid test of putting sound strategies in place." End of quote. And Prof, I get it totally, completely. If you must win an election, you need sound strategies. But don't you think you also need to make some noise, good noise, so that majority of Nigerians can hear you, and so also that your message will resonate with the public? And when I say noise, I get that you may have an idea of what I'm talking about. It has to be loud, it has to be widespread, both in messaging and in packaging. I'm also sure you know of what they say about people who remember almost 90% of what they hear, what they see, what they read, what they talk about, experience, and what they feel.
Okay, thank you so much for the question. But I think that response was basically a response I gave to a question that was related to the primaries. I believe that the primary election was more of strategy, winning your ticket from your party. So I was referring to the party election. So that particular election needed more strategy than noise. That is why those who picked tickets from various parties, even the other parties, you see that they were not the noisemakers. They were those who actually, yes, check out, those that made more noise did not pick it. So that yes. Question was related to the primaries, okay, not the general election. But looking forward to the general election, again, strategy matters, because look at, we have three vote block. We have the Northern block, we have the Bible Belt, and we have the Rockies. And if you look at this, usually the enlightened ones who are online, of course, we have everybody online, and social media play a huge role, and it's going to play a huge role in the election. I accept this. I'm young, and I know I'm digital, but this is it.
Are you sure you're not the youngest in the race? I think you are.
No, I am the youngest, and this is it. Most of the other candidates you talk about online, so it was not social media that made them popular. They've been in the political scene for more than 20, even for something years. They've been in the scene. So for people like us who are...
The point is, they also realize the market in the social media.
Of course.
Saying that, and if you look at the breakdown of the demographics for this coming election, you would also notice that the young ones, the youth population, forms the bulk of eligible voters for next year's election.
Yes, I totally agree with that. And what I'm saying is this: we cannot outrightly compare our political popularity with someone who has been in the political scene for 40 years. Some of them have been vice president, they've been governors, they've contested as president more than 2 or 3 times. You know, politics is not like entertainment that you can just blow in 1 month or so. It takes strategy. But what we are doing is this: while we are engaging in the social media, we are putting more of our effort in making sure that we have people on ground, in making sure that we have all our 776,000 polling units filled, in making sure that we get voters on ground to vote for us on the day of the election. But that doesn't mean that we will totally undermine the power of the social media. We are, and in coming months, we begin to see more build up. And I must tell you, I think you know that this particular election is the longest election.
Yes,
we have now we have a 6 month election. Before now, it used to be 3 months after primary
for campaign.
So for people like us who understand the strategy, we believe it's going to be slow and steady. We have November, we have December, we have January. We have enough time. You might not believe, but we have time to get, and we are building. And in coming months, believe me, you begin to see huge build up.
Well, talking about enough time, there's no. I don't think any time is ever enough if you ask the average politician. But you did raise something quite important about gaining the trust of voters and getting their votes. Give me in bullet points the cardinal thrust of your development blueprint for Nigeria that already factors a deep understanding of the challenges of our national challenges, but more on how you intend to drive a change process that will give us great development prospects.
Okay, one, if we truly could reflect back, sometimes last year, every Nigerian youth and every Nigerian out there have said that, most of us have said that we are tired of this particular political class who are dipping us into the economic hardship we find ourselves. And there have been a cry for a new set of leadership, a new ideology of leadership. That having said, I'm not trying to say those who have led us yes, many of them have done their best, but at a particular time, the best of those who have been leading you might not be enough to take the nation to where it ought to be. They've tried their best, their best not enough. Then we need a new breed of leadership to take Nigeria to where it ought to be. So I represent that new breed. I represent the youthful leadership. And again, like you said the other time, I'm the only youth, not just the youngest, the only youth in the presidential race. And yes, if you look at those who...
You know why I'm smiling,
yes.
Doc? The definition of youth in Nigeria does not align with that of the international community. You are a youth here when you are still within 40, 45, 50.
Oh, well,
I mean, even though international, it's not internationally accepted.
But the truth is this, I think I should be the only one within that range, even that you have called.
You're actually 39, Prof.
Yes, I should be the only one on that range that you have called. I think the youngest after me is about 50-something. So now, that is not just all. Look at my antecedent. Look at what I've been doing privately. Okay. I think I am, if you look at let me use the word new presidential candidate. What I mean by that is those who are contesting for the first time, who had not been in the circle of government, who have not yet. Many of them might not have something to say. What they will say is to attack those who have been in government, to say, oh, they have been in government, they've not done what they ought to do. And those in government would only use what they did in government as a point to prove what they can do. But I'm the only candidate who can use what I've done privately as a means to further buttress what I would do.
So you have youth on your side, you have experience on your side, but youth and experience will not make Nigeria into the next Dubai or into the strongest of nations in the world.
What will make Nigeria is to have a neutral leader who's not affiliated to those that cause our problem. The Nigerian problem is not natural disaster, it's man-made problem caused by those who have led us, negligence, selfishness, greediness, and those who are correctly leading us. Some of them, not all. So you need a leader who is not affiliated. Even in an organization, once you start having deepening problem that is not solved for so long, what you do at that time is to bring in a neutral manager to begin to overhaul the system. You cannot bring someone who is a friend to enemies of the state, who is affiliated to them to solve that problem. You cannot. So what we need now, which is the most important factor, and which is what we have, is to have a neutral person who has demonstrated passion, who have demonstrated value, who have served the people. A lot of people say you've not served government. We need someone who have served the people. I have one of the largest NGO giving so much scholarship to Nigeria. Yes. You know, empowered women outside politics, with or without politics. I have scholarship schools all over Africa, empowering people, citizens of other African countries where I can never buy as presidency.
I appreciate all of that.
This is what is there, that value and that passion. And if you look at leaders who have changed their country, these were leaders.
But Prof, you've just mentioned scholarships that you've given. happen. And I'll give you a typical example, because here we're talking about practical solutions to our developmental challenges. You cannot give scholarships to all Nigerian students, for instance. And let me give you a typical example of what I mean. Oftentimes, when I think of global commerce and finance, I'm taken aback by Nigeria's prolonged absence from that stage. See, let's conceptualize trade liberalization as a poverty reduction catalyst. I say this against the background of poverty alleviation being the core objectives or goal of the MDGs. How can we practically turn our labor surplus into an advantage in terms of trade liberalization, not just within Nigeria or West Africa, not just within the continent, but outside of the, beyond our shores? Does your development blueprint address an issue like that?
Very seriously, because look, you cannot develop your country if you don't have fair business policies and business environment for investors to come in. Nigeria have one of the toughest, business policies to attract investors. Are you aware that Nigeria visa is still one of the most difficult visa to get in the US and China, a country that truly needs investors? Are you aware that our security challenge and power challenges are basically due to bureaucratic bottlenecks in regulations and over-regulation, having double taxation system, and a country that has no system? We need to begin to build a digital economy, and that can only happen if we have leaders who understand this. And we must not also take away huge investment in human capital development. If you're talking about liberalization of economy, you need Nigerians by themselves who first will become investors to Nigeria economy, who will understand how to take. Look, see, nobody is going to come outside his space first to develop your country. You, as your people of your people, must begin to look at how do you develop. So we need to look at that. Look at power sector. Look at every other sector. Look at the education. All these are because of bottlenecks in regulation. How do we still run a country who today? Yes, we need to open up, liberalize the economy, have our railway. No, investors are there. Government should not be in the business of doing business. Should only be in business of creating an enabling environment for business to strive.
Well, first, listen, time. Let me lead you quickly, and I know, I'm sure you've seen the 2023 appropriations bill and the budget deficit accruing to over 9 trillion naira. Yeah, considering our current realities, and in spite of all of this, what would you do to shrink this deficit to a manageable level where we can almost have a balanced budget?
Yeah, number one, you have to reduce borrowing. Yes, and how do you do that? There are so many ways to fund projects. We have the PPP, we have the BOT, we have so many areas of, Nigeria is a country of 200 million population. It's a huge market for investors if we can get it right. There are so many investors willing to bring in money to develop our railway system, our healthcare system, our education system. We must open up the economy. Okay. That is very key. So once we open up the economy, government will spend less. And that is, so look at, we have countries that support and encourage, investors. Countries like, I don't want to call name, could even give up to 10 years tax waiver for investors just to attract investment into their country. So we must totally reduce the act of reckless spending and borrowing. What has led us to where we are is recklessness by those that manage the economy. What we must be looking at now for Nigerians is to get a manager, not the politicians, to manage the Nigerian economy.
I get that our time is very limited on this program, and of course this is an issue I would have loved your take expansively on. Okay. But just finally, before I let you go for now, I'd like your view on the subject of elevating the office of the citizen, in Nigeria to its rightful place in our nation, and engendering a political class of servant leaders. Yeah, in Nigeria, leaders don't act like employees of the people. They are big men. Yeah. Big men. I mean, that is not, you're my worker. Yeah. If you, Prof, become the president today, you are my staff.
Yes. And let me say, this starts from mental liberation of Nigerian people to begin to know their rights and begin to act to demand what is rightfully belongs to you. We are in a country where government functionaries will do their job and people will start clapping for them. Doing your job. And we have people like us who have privately invested, supported Nigerians, yet people will look down on them. We must begin to change that mindset so that leaders can be held accountable. They can get to understand that you are serving the people. That's why I said that the experience we need is someone who has been serving the people, not someone who has served government. Many interviews have gone for, say, you don't have experience serving government. I say, no, we need someone who has been serving, who have been serving the people. So that is very key for us. That again will help. Investing in education, it's key. You know, I'm someone who believes so much in education. Education is not granting certificates. Education is building the mind of your citizen. Once their mind is transformed, once their mind is knowledgeable, they begin to sit up and know what they ought to do per time.
Prof, we'll just leave it there for now. We're not yet done with you. We will be coming back to you to help us tick some of the boxes. Coming up next is ticking the boxes. What are the candidates promising, and how realistic are some of those promises? Prof, yeah, will be helping us tick some of those boxes. Elections, politics and governance, manifestos have played an important role. As an undergraduate myself, I remember studying some famous political manifestos, including that of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, the Communist Manifesto of 1848. And of course, there was also the Potts around statement of 1962 of the Students for Democratic Society. Well, within that context, I dare say we have seen some pretty detailed manifestos from these parts as well. I remember being stuck on the Shagari manifesto for some time, as you know, while as I was an undergraduate student. So basically, manifestos are election documents that essentially help the voter decide which party or candidate would make a better representative based on promises made during the campaigns. But do these manifestos turn out to be true and honest blueprints for national development? And do these parties and candidates attempt to follow through these public policy directives contained in these manifestos? These are promises, we said. Are they achievable? Are they tenable? Considering our realities, this is what we'll be gauging on this segment of the program, ticking the boxes. Prof is still here with us, presidential candidate of the Accord Party. We would like for you to help us tick some of our boxes here. We've outlined some issues, and let me quickly see if we have that on the screen now. There are a couple of issues on the screen. There should be 4 of them. The first on the screen is ending poverty and hunger. Prof, you have a couple of options. Do you think this is possible is it possible to end poverty in Nigeria within 4 years if you were to become president? Is it realistic? Is it unrealistic? Are you undecided on the matter, Prof?
Yeah, it's realistic to a very large extent.
In 4 years?
Yeah, it's realistic to a very large extent. We can actually reduce the level of poverty within 4 years to, even in countries like the US, in countries like world power over the world, they still have level of poverty. So it's realistic, but to a very large extent.
Great, fantastic. So that's Prof saying is realistic. Electricity, yeah, boosting electricity generation, you know, up to say 5,000 or more megawatts of electricity in Nigeria. Is that realistic, unrealistic? Are you undecided on the matter?
Yeah, you know, we currently produce about 4,000 megawatts. What Nigeria needs is about 100,000 megawatts. So for me, it's a policy issue. Once we have investors coming to involve in power generation, power transmission, and power distribution, it's very realistic, and that is one of the things.
Realistic, another realistic there for Prof. Is it possible to end insecurity within the first 4 years of your administration in Nigeria? Is that realistic, unrealistic, or is that undecided?
No, it's very realistic, because these problems are human-caused problems, not natural disasters, not caused by God. So we begin to look at the root cause, which is economic hardship. In a country that have over 70% of your employment, your citizens unemployed, underemployed, you are bound to have serious insecurity problem. 1,400 of our borderline are unguided. We need to start working on to ensure that those who come in, we monitor. So it's very realistic with a sincere leader.
Very well. Finally, Prof, is it possible to improve and better the lives of all Nigerians in 4 years?
Yes, it's possible to improve the life of all Nigerians. At least all Nigerians can get benefit of being a government. One of the first things we must do is to develop a digital economy where Nigerians can be identified. We know where they are. So whatever social economic benefit you have for 200 million Nigerians can get to them directly.
That's it. Thank you so much, Prof. You've ticked all of the boxes here for us. I mean, those are the boxes you've ticked on the screen there. Our viewers can see it and see your impression. I'd like to thank you so much, Professor Christopher Imumolen, presidential candidate of the Accord Party. It's been a pleasure having you on the program. We're officially starting our countdown, our official countdown to election day here on the ballot. Are you getting prep? Go collect your PVC receive from INEC what local government and state offices if you did register and are yet to collect them. And do not just stop there. Become a champion for election participation. Of course, your vote is your power. You decide. I will be seeing you again same time tomorrow. Bye for now.